Halo Infinite is a game. Stay tuned for my next video where I tell you that water is wet. Well, in this game there is a campaign, sometimes referred to as a story mode, by people who don't know how to spell the word campaign. Why is there a G in there? Who decided this? My English teacher is getting an email. How do you spell Miss Shibley? In this campaign, you play as the Master Chief, stomping around an alien structure in the shape of a ring, shooting or blowing up anything that isn't human, accompanied by an artificial intelligence that lives in your head. Someone from the outside looking in may say, hey look, Cortana's back, but no. She's not Cortana because AIs are the ultimate form of NFTs. I don't know, but she's a blue lady voiced by Jen Taylor, and that's enough to float my boat. But we can't just have the Master Chief walking around everywhere. That's boring, because this is our first time making an open world game, and we struggled to come up with things to do, and jittering that much high detailed terrain on older computers and Xboxes is very difficult without them catching fire. So from time to time, let's put Master Chief in a bird. We'll call that bird a pelican. We can use the flying around segments as cover up for long loading screens. I'm sure no one will notice. And if we slap the word Echo on it, followed up by 3 random numbers, boom, we have ourselves a third character. Echo 216 may deceptively look and sound like a Hispanic dude, but in actuality, he is your wife.
How many guns do you need?
Well, at least he nags on you like he's your wife. I swear, the Gravemind in Halo 3 messing up your camera and making you walk all slow wasn't as annoying as this guy's constant complaining.
How close can you get us?
How close? We're unarmed, and you're asking me how close? So what, you're going to just rebuild the UNSC? Piece by piece?
I am trying to eradicate an alien species over here. Will you quit your bitching for 5 minutes? And I will be bringing this up in marriage counseling.
Siempre hay algo contigo. Déjame en paz, por favor.
Speaking of eradicating an alien species, we have ourselves the Banished. They're not the Covenant, in a very hilariously similar way that the weapon is not Cortana. Why do we have to go to war with them instead of settling things diplomatically? Well, the short answer is they are led by a brute, and there is no word in the brute dictionary for diplomacy. There's no words in the brute dictionary whatsoever, it's just pictures and a finger puppet. And, well, they also blew up the UNSC's biggest spaceship and killed thousands of humans in a matter of seconds, so I kinda understand why negotiations are off the table. There's also the bit where their leader, Atriox, freaking bodied Master Chief, in his own words, surgically, precisely, and brutally. Yeah, he's still pretty sore about it, so now we have to kill everybody Atriox has ever known. Sounds like a plan to me. After the aforementioned spanking, Master Chief takes himself a 6-month-long nap, and we wake up to find that Atriox is actually gone, and we are now fighting against his second in command, who has a name that is almost as hard to spell as the word campaign. Escharam. Escharam? Escharam.
I am Escharam.
Escharam, yeah. And maybe find some new enemies along the way, who knows. It doesn't really matter as long as I get to run around a unique and frankly beautiful environment as an 8-foot-tall behemoth wearing fancy space armor, shooting and blowing up anything that doesn't look like I do. Now you might be saying to yourself, hey, that sounds kind of familiar to a game I once played back in 2001. And yes, that's the point. Except back then, the blue lady was purple, the aliens were called the Covenant, and your space Uber had a cool nickname of Faux Hammer! Echo 216 doesn't have a cool nickname. This is Fernando, everybody. He misses his wife and daughter. They're dead.
I killed them.
No, I'm just kidding. Did I forget to put a spoiler warning at the beginning of this video? That's my bad. Now, why would 343 put in so much effort into making Halo Infinite so similar to the original Halo game? Could it be that they want to appeal to the older fanbase's sense of nostalgia by putting beloved characters in a familiar environment while also catering to a younger generation by creating an open world that may not have much to do, but at least you can explore with a nifty grappling hook? Possibly. There's also the possibility that they're trying to distance themselves from Halo 4 and 5 as much as they can. I remember when 343 basically held a gun to our heads and said, Spartan Locke is the new Master Chief, you will love him forever, this is not an option. Well, 343 Industries doesn't remember, and they want to make sure you don't remember. That Halo 5 campaign didn't blow over well with a lot of fans, and now Spartan Locke is nowhere to be seen in Halo Infinite. Maybe he's dead, fingers crossed. I'm just kidding. Actually, I think I'm one of the few people in the Halo community that doesn't have a problem with Spartan Locke and his little trio of friends. Functionally, it made for an easy transition into cooperative multiplayer for the campaign, something that Halo Infinite still doesn't have. But even if you're playing Halo 5 Guardians by yourself, the constant presence of companions helps with the immersion. In Halo Infinite, there are no significant non-player characters that have a presence alongside you. I mean, sure, you have the 2-part voice-in-your-head combo of the blue waifu and the HR department, but all of the fellow Spartans you come across are either dead or dying, and the Marines have no permanence or value because they're just all clones of each other, and you have an unlimited supply of them at the forward operating bases. In Halo Combat Evolved, even the non-important characters at least had names, and if they got in your vehicle, you could see how close they were to dying. And if or when they did die, they were gone forever. You want them back for some reason, you had to restart a checkpoint or even restart the entire level. Was this aspect super important to the narrative? Not necessarily, but it did help make you feel like an actual member of a military organization rather than a deranged soldier with a voice in his head telling him to run around murdering anything that moves. The NPC's lack of permanence is probably directly related to that game's linear level design, but it did help with making them feel special, and I'm pretty sure something similar could have been accomplished with Halo Infinite. We all have our different preferences when it comes to our video games. One of my biggest things I appreciate is non-player characters, because real player characters are freaking a-holes. Yeah. And it kind of bothers me that in Halo Infinite, the only characters you can interact with in-game have no importance other than what you pretend to give them. You will be my friend. I will love you and feed you and call you Jeffrey. Oh no, Jeffrey! You will be my new friend. I will love you and feed you and call you Jeffrey number 2. Oh no! Halo Infinite's campaign in summary. Visually beautiful gaming experience. I can't overstate how nice this game is to just look at. And structurally, it's actually functional. That's pretty rare these days. There are some bugs and glitches like being able to teleport across the map and complete the game in 30 minutes, but you have to go out of your way to find stuff like that. Emotionally, however, Halo Infinite feels kind of dead, maybe even uninspired. When 343 took the reins from Bungie, I was wholeheartedly expecting them to make changes and go in their own creative direction with the franchise, and they sort of did. When it comes to Halo 4 and Halo 5 Guardians, you can't call them failures because they did sell and they made a lot of money, but they didn't retain a strong fan presence after the games came out, and their popularity died quickly. 343 Industries obviously wanted to prevent that happening with this game, so they changed their creative direction again. Now Halo Infinite is supposed to be one big callback to Halo's history. The problem is, this is Bungie's history of Halo, not yours, 343. The Master Chief Collection is still a thing. If I wanted to experience Bungie's era of Halo, I would just play that instead, and actually many people are. Look, I know player retention is a combination of one part story campaign experience and a much larger part being online multiplayer experience, but that topic's gonna have to be a whole video on its own. I'll be working on that dumpster fire after this. The first video game I have memories of ever playing was Halo Combat Evolved. For that and some weird Lion King platform on the Sega Genesis that was unbeatable. It's been over 2 decades and that game still raises my blood pressure just thinking about it. I've been a Halo fanboy for almost my entire life, so I don't like hearing that the newest game to come out has had a 90% drop in player base within only 2 months. Now, would taking a different narrative direction for the single player campaign cause less of a dissipation in the player base? That's hard to say, but it would have given them a perspective more positive than they don't hate it. I don't like complaining about something without coming up with some kind of solution, so here's my elevator pitch on how they could have done things a little differently. You may or may not have heard of a game released back in 2001 called Metal Gear Solid 2. The Metal Gear franchise has its own mascot character that goes by the name of Snake. He's kind of the franchise equivalent of the Master Chief. The game starts off quite predictably with you playing as Snake doing sneaky stuff, but as soon as you're done with that first mission, it takes a crazy turn, introduces a whole new character named Raiden that you play as for the rest of the game. As far as I know, he didn't exist before the game came out. There was no promotional material advertising him. He wasn't even on the box. Raiden showing up at all was surprising to say the least, but to some hardcore fans, it was a straight up slap to the face for not playing as their beloved character anymore. Now, without getting into the history of the entire Metal Gear franchise, eventually Raiden started to grow on people and gained enough popularity to warrant him getting his own game that was very well received. I mean, I didn't play it. And I think something similar could have happened with Halo Infinite. Imagine starting off the game as the Master Chief and eventually playing up to the point where you rescue Spartan Griffith from this guy's crazy torture prison. Maybe it's not even Spartan Griffith, maybe it's Spartan Locke or a whole new character entirely, but instead of them dying, you save them and then you take the reins as that character with the Master Chief stepping back from the front lines to lead the UNSC resistance against the Banished from a commander's position. And then the game just proceeds as normal. We can keep the blue lady because I'll say it twice in one video that I just love Jen Taylor. But instead of some dude named Fernando, it's the Master Chief talking to you over the radio, leading and guiding you as a commanding officer. It's already been established in the lore that he's not just a big dude with some fancy armor. He has an incredible tactical mindset and is fully capable of executing a large-scale military operation with extreme effectiveness. And all that jumping out of aircraft, knocking around alien creatures that weigh over 1,000 pounds each. And not to mention that the Master Chief is old enough to receive the senior citizen discount at the IHOP. No amount of super secret soldier serum is going to prevent him from developing arthritis at an early age. At this point in his military career, he should be in a chair behind a desk, not on the front lines. What I feel the Halo narrative needs is growth and development. 343 choosing to harken back to Halo's roots is not forward progress. It's not growth. It's just them being copycats. I highly doubt some developer is going to watch my video or care what I have to say. But if you agree or disagree in any way, or have your own ideas on how the campaign could have been done differently, maybe having cooperative multiplayer from the very beginning, I think that's something that everybody would agree on, actually. Let's have a conversation about it down in the comments section. Would taking a radically different direction for the campaign have improved its reception with new and old fans and extended the longevity of the game's popularity? It's impossible to know. What I do know is I am definitely not a hedgehog. This has been Pleb Review, and until the next one, this is not goodbye for good, just goodbye for now. Just gonna not get killed by a random elite this time. Oh, nope. Nope. No. I must live. I must live. He came in the elevator after me.
Oh, you were going to die.
No. Is that a grenade? That's a grenade. Oh God, the other one came too. No. Jesus, I didn't know they could come up here with me.